Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself, Rahelia Perwati with NMP 234111051 Class MNJ23C. Here I will do business mathematics courses from the lecturer Mr. Ade Chandra S. MMOK. Let's get straight to it. I'll review the material about producer surplus and consumer surplus. Read it until the end to increase your understanding of the material this time. What are consumer surplus and producer surplus? Both consumer surplus and producer surplus are economic terms used to define market wellness by studying the relationship between the consumers and suppliers. They explain the opportunity cost consumers forgo to gain a marginal benefit for buying a good or service. To the producer, it is the willingness and ability to produce an extra unit of a product based on the marginal cost of producing more goods. Understanding consumer surplus and producer surplus. When discussing consumer and producer surplus, it is important to understand some base concepts used by economists to explain the interrelationship. Both consumer and producer surplus can be graphed to display either a demand curve or marginal benefit curve, MB, and a supply curve or marginal cost curve, MC. The other hand, the producer surplus is the price difference between the lowest cost to supply the market versus the actual price consumers are willing to pay. The price of a product unit along the supply curve is known as the marginal cost, MC. When graphing consumer surplus, the area above every extra unit of consumption is referred to as the total consumer surplus. Similarly, the area above the supply curve for every extra unit brought to the market is referred to as the total producer surplus. When you add both the consumer and producer surplus, you get the total surplus, also known as total welfare or community surplus. It is used to determine the well-being of the market. When all factors are constant, in a perfect market state, an equilibrium is achieved. This state is also referred to as allocative efficiency. The marginal cost and marginal benefit are equal. Understanding consumer surplus. To fully conceptualize consumer surplus, take an example of a demand curve of chocolates plotted on a graph. The unit price is plotted on the y-axis and the actual chocolate units of demand per day on the x-units. The graph below shows the consumer surplus when consumers purchase 2 units of chocolates. Calculate consumer surplus, account for delta 0 units. In the graph above, the corresponding unit price is $14. It is the market price that consumers are able and willing to purchase a bar of chocolate. Since the demand curve is linear, the shape formed between delta 0 unit to 2 and below the demand curve is triangular. Therefore, the ordinary formula for finding an area of a triangle is used. The unit items cancel out to leave the result expressed in monetary form. Understanding producer surplus. Using the same example with all the x and y-axis numbers, the producer surplus is calculated using the same formula. Below is the graph for the illustration. The producer surplus cost at 2 units is $4, 6 to $2. This means that the suppliers will forego $4 per unit for producing 2 units. Total surplus. In the previous example, the total consumer surplus was $3, and the total producer surplus $4, respectively. The total surplus, therefore, will be $7, $3 plus $4. Below is the formula. The above example, the total surplus does not depict the equilibrium. There is a deadweight to shed off. Supplier overheads are higher for producing 2 units. Similarly, the consumer is getting less than what the market can offer. As a result, to achieve a stable market, the producers must increase the production to reduce the deadweight and attain the equilibrium. At the equilibrium, the consumer, S.